Detective Brian Simonsen was killed back in February responding to a robbery at a cell phone store. Investigators saying the suspect in that case had a fake gun. As Simonsen was rushing in to stop him, officers who were already inside opened fire as that suspect tried to get away.
Well, the detective was struck by an NYPD bullet and died. Tonight, his department and especially his partner are still suffering. Yeah, Picks Up Nicole Johnson sat down for an exclusive interview at the precinct that is still coming to grips with that tragic loss. Nicole.
Well, everything that could have gone wrong that night did. And the two suspects allegedly there, well, they're charged with this detective's murder. But instead of dwelling on all of that, his partner and supervisors are remembering everything the detective did right.
Terrible, you know. I mean, it still hasn't sunk in.
He's holding on to memories of his dear friend and partner, Detective Brian Simonsen. Reality is just too hard to bear how Simonsen died in a hail of bullets on a cold winter night when he responded to a 911 call about a robbery inside this T-Mobile store. Simonsen was on a stakeout for another robbery case, and his partner, Richard Waters, was back at the precinct doing paperwork on that case.
He said, when I come back, I'll be back in 45 minutes, we'll figure out what to eat. And then that was it. I never saw him again.
Chilling radio calls were all that other responding officers heard that night, without having a clue of what was happening inside that T-Mobile store. Chief Joseph Kenny, head of Detectives Borough Queens South, was one of them.
911 call stated it was a man with a gun, that he was wearing a mask.
Police say the man was Christopher Ransom. It turns out the gun Ransom allegedly had was a fake.
It was, in fact, a realistic-looking imitation pistol.
We have an MOI shot at this location. Rush your bus.
42 shots fired in 11 seconds by 7 NYPD officers that night. Simonsen was hit by a single bullet to his chest, a victim of friendly fire. Sergeant Matthew Gorman was also shot, but he survived. A tragedy the department is now looking into to see how these chain of events happened and how they could be avoided in the future.
The only thing to take away from this is that the perpetrator that went into that store armed with that fake gun, he caused all of this.
We may never know exactly which officer fired that fatal shot. To Simonsen's family, that's not what's most important.
My main concern is that his wife is taken care of, and her main concern is that nobody forgets about Brian.
Forgetting the detective who had almost 19 years on the job is almost impossible. His legacy lives in the community where he served, from his favorite deli to the community support.
He was just larger than life. He was just a great guy to be around.
And when his lieutenant at the 102 precinct, Gregory Leroy, asked Simonsen to give new recruits advice,
he must have sat with them for almost 3 hours. And I would say that every recruit was on the edge of his chair listening to what he had to say.
And colleagues say Simonsen is still with them. Chief Kenny explains.
During the search warrant entry, one of the residents of the house must have hit pause on the television, and when we all ran past in during the search warrant, Brian's picture was on like an 80-inch flat screen TV, so it was like he was with us.
After the shooting, fellow detectives were asked if they wanted to transfer out of the squad, and all of them said no. That's not what Detective Simonsen would have done or would have wanted them to do.